There's a moment in every woman's healing journey that nobody talks about enough. It's not the moment you signed the papers. It's not the day you moved out. It's not even the first night you slept alone in your new place, wondering how your life became unrecognizable. It's smaller than that, quieter, almost invisible to everyone else. It's the moment when something inside you whispers, maybe I can survive this. Today, we're sitting down with women who've walked through the fire of divorce and came out the other side. Not because they're special or they had it easier, but because somewhere in their darkest hour, they found one tiny spark of light and decided to follow it. These aren't fairy tales. These are real stories from real women who hit rock bottom and found the strength to stand back up. And maybe, just maybe, one of these stories will be the light you need today. Because here's what we know. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments. Small, fragile, powerful moments that change everything. Let's talk about those moments. The depth of the fall. Before we can talk about turning points, we need to honor the darkness, because that's where these women were. That's where many of you are right now. Sarah was 38 when her husband told her he'd been having an affair for 2 years. 2 years. She replayed every moment, every lie, every time she'd felt crazy for questioning him. She lost 16 pounds in 3 weeks because food tasted like cardboard. She'd wake up at 3 in the morning, heart racing, mind spiraling, wondering if she'd ever feel safe again. Maria watched her husband walk out the door after 19 years of marriage. 19 years! She stood in their kitchen, surrounded by the life they'd built together, and she couldn't remember who she was before him. The silence in that house was so loud it physically hurt. She told us she'd sit in her car in the garage for hours because going inside meant facing the emptiness. Jennifer discovered her worth had been tied to being a wife for so long that when divorce papers arrived, she didn't know what she was worth at all. She'd look in the mirror and see a stranger, a failure, someone who couldn't keep her marriage together. The shame was suffocating. These women weren't just sad, they were shattered, fundamentally broken in a way that made them question everything they knew about themselves, about love, about life. And if you're there right now, if you're reading this from that deep, dark place where breathing feels like work, I need you to hear this. What you're feeling is real, it's valid, and it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. It means you loved deeply, invested fully, and now you're grieving the death of a future you'd already lived 1,000 times in your mind. But here's what these women want you to know. That darkness isn't the end of your story. It's the middle. And the middle is always the hardest part. The turning point, Sarah's story. Sarah's turning point came on a Tuesday morning. Nothing special about it. Gray skies, cold coffee, another sleepless night behind her. She was driving to work, eyes swollen, running on autopilot, when a song came on the radio. Not even a particularly meaningful song, just something upbeat and light. And for exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds, she sang along. She didn't think about her ex, she didn't think about the affair, she didn't think about how her life was falling apart. She just sang. When the song ended, she pulled into a parking lot and cried. But these tears were different. They weren't the heavy, hopeless tears she'd been crying for weeks. They were tears of recognition. Because in those 3 minutes and 42 seconds, she'd felt like herself again. Just a glimpse, just a flash. But it was there. That's when Sarah realized something profound. Her ex-husband had taken a lot from her, but he couldn't take her. That person who sang along to random songs on the radio, she was still in there. Buried, bruised, but not gone. Sarah told us that moment didn't fix everything. She still had months of hard work ahead of her, but it planted a seed, a tiny seed of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could find her way back to herself. She started small. She'd play music while getting ready in the morning. She'd sing in the shower. She'd dance while cooking dinner for one. These weren't grand gestures. They were whispers to herself. You're still here. You still exist outside of this pain. 6 months later, Sarah joined a community choir. A year later, she was leading workshops on rediscovering joy after loss. Not because she had all the answers, but because she remembered that moment in the car when she realized her joy couldn't be taken from her unless she let it. The turning point, Maria's story. Maria's turning point happened in the produce section of a grocery store. She'd been avoiding grocery shopping for weeks because they'd always done it together. It was their Sunday ritual. But she'd run out of everything, and frozen dinners were making her feel worse, so she forced herself to go. She was standing there, staring at tomatoes, completely overwhelmed by the simple act of choosing vegetables for one person, when an elderly woman next to her said, "The Roma tomatoes are beautiful this week, dear." She smiled politely and grabbed some. The woman continued, "I've been shopping for one for 30 years now. Lost my husband when I was 49. Thought I'd never figure out how to live alone." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Does it get easier?" The woman looked at her with the kindest eyes Maria had ever seen. "Honey, it gets different, and different can be beautiful if you let it be." That was it. 30 seconds with a stranger in a grocery store, but those words cracked something open in Maria's chest. Different can be beautiful if you let it be. Maria started reframing everything. She wasn't failing at being married anymore. She was learning to be single. She wasn't alone. She was independent. Her quiet house wasn't empty. It was peaceful. Hers. She started small. She bought flowers for herself every week, not because anyone would see them, because she would see them. She rearranged furniture. She painted a wall teal because she'd always wanted to, and her ex hated bright colors. She started eating dinner at the table instead of in front of the TV, treating herself like she was worth the effort. Maria told us that woman in the grocery store probably has no idea she changed someone's life that day, but she did, because sometimes all we need is permission to believe that our new life can be good too. Different, yes, but maybe, possibly, eventually, beautiful. The turning point, Jennifer's story. Jennifer's turning point came from an unexpected source, her 8-year-old daughter. Jennifer had been trying to hold it together for her kids, smiling when she wanted to scream, being strong when she felt like dissolving. She thought she was protecting them from her pain. One night, her daughter crawled into bed with her and said, "Mommy, you don't have to pretend to be happy all the time. It's okay to be sad." She broke. She cried in her daughter's arms, and her daughter just held her and said, "It's going to be okay, Mommy. We're going to be okay." That's when Jennifer realized she'd been so focused on being strong that she'd forgotten to be real, and her daughter needed real more than she needed perfect. The next morning, Jennifer sat her kids down and told them the truth. "Mommy is sad right now. This is really hard, but we're going to get through it together, and it's okay to have hard feelings." Her son, who had been quiet for weeks, started crying. "I thought I had to be happy so you wouldn't be more sad." They all cried together that morning, really cried, and something shifted. The house felt lighter, more honest, more like a home. Jennifer stopped performing strength and started embodying strength. Real strength, which includes vulnerability, which includes admitting when you're not okay, which includes showing your children that it's possible to hurt and heal at the same time. She started therapy. She joined a divorce support group. She stopped hiding behind "I'm fine" and started saying, "I'm struggling, but I'm working on it." And you know what? People showed up. Friends she thought would judge her offered help. Family members she'd been too proud to lean on came through. Jennifer told us that her daughter's words that night taught her the most important lesson of her healing. You don't have to have it all figured out to start moving forward. You just have to be honest about where you are. The common thread. Do you see the pattern here? Sarah's turning point was singing in the car. Maria's was a stranger in a grocery store. Jennifer's was her daughter's wisdom. None of these were grand moments. There were no dramatic revelations or life-altering events, just small, ordinary moments that sparked something extraordinary. Because here's the truth about healing. It doesn't usually happen with fireworks and fanfare. It happens in whispers, in tiny choices, in moments so small you might miss them if you're not paying attention. It's the first morning you wake up and don't immediately think about him. It's the joke that makes you genuinely laugh. It's the meal you cook for yourself with actual effort because you're worth it. It's the boundary you set, the therapy appointment you keep, the morning you look in the mirror and recognize the woman looking back. These women want you to know you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a master plan. You don't need to be healed to start healing. You just need to stay open to those small moments, those tiny sparks of light. So what do you do when you're still in the darkness, waiting for your turning point? First, be gentle with yourself. These women emphasize this over and over. Healing isn't linear. You'll have good days and terrible days. You'll take steps forward and slide back. That's not failure, that's the process. Second, create space for small joys. You don't have to feel grateful for your divorce. You don't have to see it as a blessing in disguise. But you can let yourself feel 30 seconds of peace when you drink your morning coffee. You can let yourself smile at a sunset. You can let yourself feel something other than pain, even if just for a moment. Third, talk to someone. Therapy, support groups, trusted friends. These women all said the same thing. They couldn't heal in isolation. Healing requires witness. It requires being seen in your pain and held through it. Fourth, do one small thing for yourself every day. Not because you feel like it, not because it fixes anything, but because you're sending yourself a message, I'm worth caring for, even now, especially now. And finally, stay open. Your turning point might not look like you expect. It might not come when you think it should, but it will come. These women promise you, it will come. The hope. Here's what these women want every woman going through divorce to know. You are not broken beyond repair. You are breaking open, and there's a difference. Breaking down means you're destroyed. Breaking open means you're making room for something new, something truer, something more aligned with who you really are. Sarah is remarried now to someone who sees her fully, but she'll tell you the greatest love story wasn't finding him, it was finding herself again in that car singing along to the radio. Maria is still single and says it's the most fulfilling her life has ever been. She travels, she's learned 3 languages, she's built a community of women who lift each other up. She says her life didn't end when her marriage did, it expanded. Jennifer has raised confident, emotionally intelligent children who've seen their mother fall apart and put herself back together. They've learned that hard things happen and you survive them. That's a gift she could have never given them from inside an unhappy marriage. These women aren't special. They're not superhuman. They're just women who kept going when everything in them wanted to stop, who found tiny sparks of light in the darkness and followed them home. And you can too. So here's what I want to ask you today. What was your turning point? Or if you're still waiting for it, what small moment of light have you noticed lately? Maybe it's a song that made you feel alive. Maybe it's a stranger's kindness. Maybe it's your child's wisdom or your own reflections surprising you with resilience you didn't know you had. Your story matters. Your turning point matters. Because somewhere, there's a woman in her car at 3 a.m. reading these comments, wondering if she'll ever feel okay again. And your story might be the light she needs. Share in the comments. Tell us about your moment. Tell us where you are in your journey. Tell us what's giving you hope, even if it's the tiniest thing. Because we're not just individual women healing from divorce. We're a community of survivors, holding space for each other's pain and celebrating each other's progress. You don't have to heal alone. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to have it figured out. You just have to keep going. Keep noticing those small moments of light. Keep believing that different can be beautiful. Because it can. These women are living proof. And so will you be. We'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about rebuilding your identity after divorce and discovering parts of yourself you forgot existed. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think. Your turning point is coming. Stay open to it.